Today we are going to begin our series on Laravel Authorization. Now to get started, I'm going to use the Laravel Installer. I have a video on both the Laravel Installer and Homestead. Those are going to be the tools I use to install Laravel and to run a virtual server. So feel free to check out that video if you want the beginning setup that I have. If you have your own setup, then you should be able to just skip ahead once the installation is complete, and then we'll get started directly into authorization. Specifically, today's video is going to be over middleware. Alright, so we have the Laravel project installed inside of the authorized directory, and we have all of our composer dependencies installed into vendor, as well as the auth preset that comes with Laravel set up. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install Homestead. That's going to be Laravel Homestead --dev. So now we have Homestead installed. We need to run vendor bin homestead make, and that will install Homestead within our repository, giving us a virtual server. And Homestead is the official virtual server of the Laravel ecosystem. Now within the env, I'm going to set my database name to Homestead, my database username to Homestead, and my database password to secret. Next, I'm going to go through this really quickly. If you guys want to figure out how to set up Homestead, I do have a video on that. Yep, we are good to go. So now I'm going to switch over back here, and I'm going to do vagrant up provision. And that's going to start my virtual machine, and now we can get into middleware. Laravel Middleware. Middleware provides a convenient mechanism for filtering HTTP requests entering our applications. They also allow us to manipulate the response on the way out. So let's start by defining to middleware. To create middleware, we can use this command, PHP artisan make middleware. So let's open up this. I'm going to run PHP artisan make middleware after middleware. Ooh. You get back to the root. PHP artisan, one more time. CDD authorize. Okay. PHP artisan make middleware after middleware, and PHP artisan make middleware before middleware. Just like that. Next, we're going to do two things. We have to register the middleware. So how we do that is we have to go to app http:/kernel.php. You'll see a lot of options in here. The first one is going to be the global middleware, the application's global HTTP middleware stack. These middleware are run on every single request into our application for HTTP requests. Middleware groups. Groups are, well, specifically groups are a reference to our routes API.php file and our routes web.php file. The groups are saying, okay, hey, run these middleware only if it's a web request. Otherwise, run this middleware if it's an API request. Then we have our route middleware. These middleware may be assigned to groups or used individually. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a before. We're going to point that to app/http. Actually, I think I have this in my, nope, to app/http/middleware/authenticate, and then before middleware class, just like that. Then we're going to copy that, and we're going to add an after middleware. Say after middleware class. So now we have registered our middleware, our after middleware, and our before middleware to be usable. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our route. We're going to say, okay, middleware, and then we're going to pass in an array, and we're going to say before middleware and after middleware. Then we are going to return our response and pass in JSON and say hello, and then world. just like that. Following that, we're actually going to go to our after middleware. Notice this comment right here, handle an incoming request. That's not what we want. We want to handle an outgoing response. So first let's change that comment. Next, instead of returning the request right here, we want to set it to response. And then we're going to just add a header for the heck of it. So we'll say response header, and then we'll say X header, and then after middleware. This was created in our after middleware, just like that. And then we have to return our response. And it looks like we can actually just return that line right there and save a line of code. Okay, so now we're handling an outgoing response. Instead of returning the next request, we're now returning the response with an added header. Okay, now we're going to go to our before middleware. And our before middleware, we are going to simply say, okay, request has name. If the request has no name, throw a new exception. Name is required in request. And then we simply return the next request middleware. Then we simply return the next request middleware. Now, if we go back to our web.php and we return our response right here, that should all work properly. We're going to go back to homestead.test and reload our page. Okay, so this is the before middleware. Name is required in request. Remember, we executed this conditional if request does not have the name, throw new exception, name is required in the request. So that worked properly. Let's get that passing. We'll do name equals Sarah. Hello world. And so, if our after middleware worked properly, we should be able to reload our page, check our headers, and response headers. Here they are. Okay, X header after middleware. This was created in our after middleware. So let's go back to web.php and let's do something a little bit different now. We just applied the before and after middleware on our route, on a specific route. So let's remove the middleware there and let's do route get, and then we'll do, and let's get rid of auth routes. Route get slash home slash, I don't know, home dashboard. And then we'll do home controller at dashboard. Just like that. Now let's go to our home controller and let's, in the constructor, home controller is already doing it. You can add middleware on a controller by controller basis by doing this middleware, and then we're going to say before, and then this middleware after. Just like that. Next, we need to create our dashboard function. And we simply want to return the same thing, and then say JSON hello world. Just like that. Okay. So now, if we go to our home dashboard page, we should get an error. We don't add anything. Route login not defined. Okay, so let's go back to our home controller. I removed the auth routes, so let's remove this auth middleware for now. Alright, if we reload the page, name is required in request. Of course, if we put the name in the request, and then we reload the page, everything passes, and our header should be located right here. Now what's cool about putting it on your controller is that any routes that use that controller, like home, will also get the same thing. So now that those two middleware, before middleware and after middleware, are on both home and home dashboard. And of course, if we were to add the name into home and do name equals Sarah, reload that page, and we still have the after middleware header. So yeah, pretty sweet stuff, guys. So now that we're done with that example, let's move on to the entire web. Every single web route, we want to have that middleware. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to say, okay, before and after. We can reference them as strings because they are right there. I believe that's why we can reference them as strings. I may be wrong. Route login not defined. Let's go. Is that the home controller? Return view. We'll just say, so we'll do hello world. And now we will reload our page again. And now we get hello world. Of course, if we check for our headers, it does exist. And if we were to remove the name, we will get the original error, name is required in the request. But now, since we're not on the controller, if we go back to our original page, we'll get the same thing. The reason this happens is because we are adding the middleware on all web routes. That is routes/web.php. So all three of these routes now have both of those middleware. The last thing you can do with middleware, or where you can add the middleware more specifically, is on the protected middleware. This is global. The application's global HTTP middleware stack. That means if we reload our page, just like this, we get the same error. And of course, if we did name Sarah, it will, target class before does not exist. 1 second. Let's try /app/http/middleware/BeforeMiddleware class, and then we'll do after middleware class. Just like that. Now let's go back here and reload our page, and it works again. So if we did go down here and we looked at Sarah, our header still exists, and obviously if we get rid of that query, we already saw that error, and the name is required in the request. Now the difference between global and web is now if we hit our API endpoints, if we define a route here, and we did route middleware, and we did before and after, just like that, and we did get/example, and we did function, and then we just did request, return request, JSON, hello world, just like that. And we should be able to hit API/example and get the same thing. Also, because we are in, well, never mind. That's kind of outside the scope. Let's go name equals Sarah, just like that. Everything works properly, except because we are in our API, it automatically returns JSON. So what we can do is we can get rid of that request altogether, or that response, and we can do this. And now, I believe that header will still be there. Yep, and it is X header after middleware. So that is how you add global middleware to your Laravel application. The only other thing I can really think of is if we go to our kernel, we can prioritize our middleware. So right now this is the default order, and the after middleware will always be ran after the before middleware because we're running the middleware on the response. But if we were to add another before middleware or another after middleware, then we could say, okay, hey, we want to run this after middleware before the next after middleware. And all we'd have to do is go to our kernel and make sure that after middleware, or I guess second after middleware, and first after middleware, we're in that order. And as long as we do that, then it will run that first after middleware and then the second after middleware. So this is used to prioritize the middleware. It forces non-global middleware to always be in a given order. Alright guys, well that's all I got on middleware today. Zachary Warren with Clean Code Studio. If this was useful, helpful, like and subscribe, and next time we will be getting on to either policies or gateways. Simple